What's going on, everybody? My name is Nick, and welcome to another episode of Short Circuit Sports, the channel that brings you weekly, lightning-fast coverage of the sports world from a fan's perspective. I cover anything and everything from breaking news to scores and predictions with analysis to even weekly recaps for anything that you might have missed in the world of sports. That being said, we got a lot going on in this episode. We got the MLB postseason that has a little bit of everything going on. We got some Week 5 NFL recap along with my top 5 games to watch for in Week 6 along with their predictions. And in the NBA, we got some updates about the James Harden trade drama, so you don't want to miss any of that. So without further introduction, stay plugged in, stay charged up, and let's get into it. The MLB postseason is in full swing. Get it? With all of the divisional series currently underway. Starting in the American League, the Houston Astros are winning their series 2-1, having just beaten the Minnesota Twins 9-1 in Minnesota. The Astros pitching was nothing short of dominant, allowing only 3 total hits combined and striking out 14 for the day. On the flip side, their offense completely teed off on Minnesota's pitchers, hitting a combined 4 home runs on 14 hits. Game 4 will be tomorrow in Minnesota and will determine if the Astros move on or if the Twins stay alive. Personally, I think that the Astros might have just too much talent on both sides for the Twins to really keep up. For the other American Divisional Series, the Texas Rangers currently lead the Baltimore Orioles 2-0. At the time of this recording, the Texas Rangers were winning 7-1, I believe, in the 8th inning. So it looks like the Texas Rangers will be moving on to the ALCS to face the winner of that Minnesota-Houston series. It's been really completely one-sided so far, as the Rangers have been nothing short of dominant throughout the postseason. Manager for the Rangers, Bruce Bochy, has the Rangers operating smoothly, and I have no doubt that will continue throughout the postseason. I just feel like the Rangers have the talent to really make a deep playoff run, and they also have experience. They also have a winning manager at the helm to do it. If you don't remember, Bruce Bochy won 3 championships with the San Francisco Giants in those 2010s. So I just feel like the Rangers have the experience, talent necessary to really make a push. I do think that the Orioles are almost there talent-wise, but I also think that their lack of playoff experience kind of hurts them here. So I have no doubt that they will be back, and with maybe a little bit more experience, maybe we can see Baltimore make a little bit of a deeper push. Moving on to the National League, the Arizona Diamondbacks are leading the Los Angeles Dodgers 2-0 with Game 3 tomorrow in Arizona. The Diamondbacks won both games in Los Angeles by a combined score of 15-4, with 9 of those 15 runs coming in the first inning. Dodger stars Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts are a combined 1 for 13 with 3 walks, no RBIs, and 2 runs. I understand baseball is not a 1 or 2 man show, but when your 2 best players completely disappear in the postseason, that typically doesn't bode well for your chances of winning, especially when the starting pitching has been kind of non-existent. As for the Diamondbacks, their ability to start as hard as they have in each of their games played against a division rival, no less, has been nothing short of amazing. Their ability to completely take the Dodgers crowd out of it early and then frustrating Dodger hitters left and right has them 1 win away from pulling off an unparalleled upset of a 100-win rival that about 2 weeks ago was beating them in the division race by 16 games. It remains to be seen if the Dodgers will actually wake up and make it a series worth watching, but if the Diamondbacks keep the status quo, they will move on to the championship series and leave Dodger fans in a state of disbelief at having been knocked out of the playoffs by a division rival 2 years in a row. As for the final National League Series, we have a good series going down between the Philadelphia Phillies and the Atlanta Braves, having split one game apiece. The Phillies were able to steal Game 1 in Atlanta, but the Braves were able to turn it around and claim Game 2. I personally have the series going 5 games, and while I did say before in other videos that the Braves were the best team in baseball, the way the Phillies play them has me not having any idea who is going to take this series. I also believe that the series is going to be decided between the Philadelphia pitchers and the Atlanta hitters. So, something to look forward to, and Game 3 is tomorrow night. Moving on, we got NFL Week 5 recap. I officially went 3-2 in my top 5 games to watch picks. I did have the Bills beating the Jaguars in London, so I was officially wrong there. But I also did mention before in my last video that Jacksonville playing in London 2 weeks in a row could probably be an advantage as far as time zones are concerned, and being more adjusted than the Bills would be. I also thought that the Bills as a team were more talented than the Jaguars, but when you turn the ball over 3 times and allow Trevor Lawrence to throw for over 300 yards, you're probably not going to be on the winning side of that. And that's precisely what happened here. I was also wrong in that I had the Arizona Cardinals upsetting the Cincinnati Bengals the way both teams had been playing. I thought Arizona could pull off an upset at home. What I did not account for was Bengals star receiver Jamar Chase completely going off for 15 receptions, 192 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Who would have thought that would have happened? Not me. I did correctly call the Eagles and Rams game, as I had originally thought that the Eagles' defense and run game would be a little too much for the Rams to handle. Quarterback Jalen Hurts threw for over 300 yards and had a passing and rushing touchdown. Star receiver A.J. Brown had 6 receptions for 127 yards, and as a whole, the Eagles ran for a team total of 159 yards. So overall, the Eagles really handled the Rams from start to finish, really. I also correctly called the Chiefs and Vikings game, as I believe that the Chiefs passing game would be a little too much for the Vikings defense to handle. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes threw for over 280 yards and 2 touchdowns, and tight end Travis Kelce also had a receiving touchdown in the game. The game did kind of end on a controversial no call, but for the most part, the Chiefs did have this in the bag. As for the Vikings, star receiver Justin Jefferson did sustain a hamstring injury during the game and has officially been put on injured reserve, so big blow to the Vikings offense there. As for the last game on my picks list, while I did pick the San Francisco 49ers to beat the Dallas Cowboys, nothing could have prepared me for the beatdown that San Francisco put on Dallas on Sunday night. My original reason for picking the Niners was that I did believe that the San Francisco defense would completely overwhelm Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott. And based on the final score of this game, how right I was. The San Francisco defense ended up having 3 interceptions while also recovering a fumble, and Prescott ended up having to be taken out at the end of the game because of how large the deficit was. And on the flip side, I did not predict that the Niners quarterback Brock Purdy would go off like he did, throwing for over 250 yards and 4 touchdowns. When the season first started, I did have the Niners as my number 1 team while also having Dallas as my 3rd. But as of right now and after this game, I don't think Dallas belongs in that kind of conversation anymore. The Niners have showed anyone and everyone that they are the team to beat, not just in the NFC, but the entire NFL. And until Dallas figures out what to do about Dak Prescott and head coach Mike McCarthy, even with the talent on the defensive side of the ball, I don't believe Dallas should be considered a title contender. Moving on to my Week 6 Knicks picks, where I give you my top 5 games to watch in the week as well as who I believe will win. Every week so far, I have had a winning pick record, having gone 12-4. For those of you pointing out inaccuracies with the totals, I did not start picking games until after week 2. Anyways, my number 5 game on the list is the Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Jets. I do think that the score prediction speaks for itself. The Philadelphia Eagles have shown themselves to be as great as they were last year. And while the New York Jets have not lived up to expectations, mostly due to the injuries that they have sustained on both sides, um, their defense has kept them in most games. And unfortunately, I do think that Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia offense will prove to be a little too much for the New York Jets to handle. At my number 4 game, I have the Seattle Seahawks at the Cincinnati Bengals. The reason I have the Bengals winning a tight one is because I do think that while Seattle has an incredibly talented roster, they are dealing with a plethora of injuries in their secondary. And as I mentioned before, star receiver for the Bengals, Jamar Chase, is coming off of an incredible game that they just had against Arizona. And without much help in the secondary, I think Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase will prove a little too much for the Seahawks to really handle. At my number 3 game, I do have the Arizona Cardinals at the Los Angeles Rams. Arizona is coming off of a huge loss against Cincinnati, while the Rams are coming off of a modest loss against the Eagles. Based on how the two teams played last week, I do have to give the Rams the edge here. It is a divisional matchup, so I expect it to maybe be a little closer than people might give it credit for. But ultimately, I think the Rams are just too talented on the offensive side of the ball for the Cardinals to really be able to deal with it. At my number 2 game, I have the Detroit Lions at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that it is safe to say that both of these teams have surpassed expectations throughout the first 5 weeks of the season. Considering that the Lions are 4-1 and the Bucs have gone 3-1 as well. For this game, even though it is in Tampa Bay, I'm going to give the win to Detroit here. I think that they are for real, and they are my pick to win the NFC North. And they're just too talented and well coached to really lose this game. I do think that Tampa could keep it close, especially since quarterback Baker Mayfield has been a nice surprise for that Tampa offense. I just think that Detroit has a much better defense than Tampa has an offense, and I think it's going to be a little too much for Tampa's offense to really handle, especially since Detroit has I personally think he's a defensive player of the year candidate in Aiden Hutchinson, and he is an absolute beast. So I have the Detroit Lions winning by 10 here. As for my number 1 game, I have the Dallas Cowboys at the Los Angeles Chargers. After throttling the Niners gave them on Sunday, I do think that San Francisco has given the league a blueprint on how to beat Dallas. Not to mention that this is a revenge game for the offensive coordinator for the Chargers, Kellen Moore, as Dallas did let him go at the end of last season. The Chargers are dealing with a handful of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, so I think that this has a potential to be a shootout. But the Chargers are getting star running back Austin Eckler back this week, which is going to be a major boost to a struggling Chargers run game. For some reason, the Chargers like to keep every game they play close to the very end, and yet these last 2 games that they have played, they've pulled out victories, and I think that they can do it here against the Dallas team that took a major step back on Sunday. Moving on to the NBA, we got an update about disgruntled star James Harden and his pursuit to be traded from the Philadelphia 76ers. He has already made it known that he would like to be traded to the Los Angeles Clippers, mostly due to his friendship with Clipper guard Russell Westbrook, but also because of the playoff contender that they've built there. However, trade talks between the Clippers and Sixers have been relatively stagnant over the last couple of weeks. That was until recently when analyst Adrian Wojnarowski reported a trade proposal that the Clippers offered the Sixers that pretty much beats any potential trade offer the Sixers could have gotten for Harden. Here you can see that in this trade proposal, the Clippers would receive James Harden, and in return, the Sixers would receive a first-round pick, a pick swap. I'm assuming a year of the Sixers choosing. I could be wrong. As well as a handful of expiring contracts that would include forwards Marcus Morris and Robert Covington. From what I have heard, the Sixers want the Clippers. They want the Clippers to throw in guard Terrence Mann. However, the Clippers have been strongly against including him in any potential trade. I personally believe that even without Terrence Mann, that this is more than a fair offer to the Sixers and is better than any offer they can or will get for Harden. And if they want him off their hands as much as Harden wants to be, I do think that the Sixers should really stop playing hardball and take this more than reasonable offer. So that is all the time that we have for this episode of Short Circuit Sports. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like and subscribe. If there's anything that I talked about that you agree, disagree with, or want me to talk more about, please let me know down in the comments, and I will be sure to include those in my next episodes. So without any more for your day, stay plugged in, stay charged up, and I will see you guys on the next episode of Short Circuit Sports. Have a good one. Peace.